What up? It's your boy T-Burn Reaction. About to do today's Wrestling Wednesday, and about to do a reaction video from Wrestling Randy, and this is Wrestling Randy, Wrestling with Andy. I'm sorry. Now I did a couple things recently from Wrestling Andy, best baby faces of all time for the 2000s, and currently to best storylines for the 2000 to 2025 as well too, though, which have been some great ones. Now through the years, we definitely dealt with some bad storylines as well too, whether it's from heels who keeping the heel turn wrong, baby faces who can't get it over, unfortunately, or just bad storyline in general, no matter who it was. Other than that, we're gonna take a look at those bad storylines from 2000 to 2025. Let's get it.
In a prior video, we looked at the best storylines in WWE for every year of this century. But what about the flip side to that? What about the worst angles WWE has given us? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be looking at right now, starting with the worst story of 2000, Mae Young's pregnancy.
Oh, yeah. This was well, then again, I think that was 1999. No, that was 2000. I could say this could be between that and the kettle from hell one. It could have been up for argument in the first one, but I could definitely say this as well too, because the outcome of it as well. But yeah.
Now, if you were a fan of WWF during the Attitude Era, then you'll no doubt remember this one, as it's since gone down in infamy. That's right. The idea here was that Mae Young, despite being a senior citizen already by then, had started an on-screen romance with Mark Henry, and this had eventually led to her falling pregnant with the world's strongest man's child. Of course, Mae wasn't really pregnant here, though, and that meant the creative team had to figure out a way to get out of this one quickly. What would they eventually decide upon? Well, in the end, the former women's champion would give birth to a hand. Yes, it didn't make much sense then, and it still doesn't make much sense now. But at least the whole angle didn't hobble any careers like our next entry did, the time in 2001 when Diamond Dallas Page...
Oh, God. Yeah. Wow, it was awesome to see Diamond Dallas Page be another big star from WC, make his little debut in WCW as well too, because a lot of stars just as big as him could have, but the Time Warners, but how they brought him in, yeah, unforgivable. I'm sorry, unforgivable. I mean, introduces a little character with the. Is me. I laugh at every time. But yeah, the Stalker joint, that was just why. That was another like Vince Eagle getting away. Vince just trying his hardest to, now that he bought WCW, he demolishing any and everything about WCW and their stars, yo. Yeah.
Page was revealed to be the stalker of The Undertaker's wife.
You could have asked somebody else to be a stalker, not DDP, man.
Come on now, this one should have been so easy. After all, during the latter years of WCW, DDP was able to make himself into a huge star for that promotion. So when the Invasion angle saw World Championship Wrestling invade WWF, the idea should have been to present Page as a serious threat.
Exactly.
But that's not what happened here, because after weeks of vignettes showed a mysterious stalker terrorizing The Undertaker's wife Sarah, we got the reveal that the New Jersey native had been the one behind the whole thing. Obviously then, this immediately nerfed his run in WWE, as it was a complete betrayal of the character DDP had in his prior home. And it didn't even make sense in kayfabe, as we already knew Page had a wife in Kimberly. All it did was speed up the demise of the Invasion. And that would mean this storyline would no longer be around in 2002. No, that year, the worst WWE had to offer.
Oh my God. Whew. Whew. Oh man, I knew I'd be dreading watching this, but god darn, man. All a part of the whole Reign of Terror, and this was like, out of all the parts, all the stuff of the Reign of Terror to keep that title on Triple H, this by far may have been the worst as well too. Secondarily, very close, very second to the worst was definitely the Booker T one, because how he did it, because how racially it was though, but still. But this was just this definitely beats by hair. I will say that by hair though. I mean, to most people probably by a mile, but to folks like me, by hair.
Was Katie Vick. Okay, this one really shouldn't require much explanation, as at this point it's gone down as being amongst the worst wrestling storylines to ever take place anywhere. And the reason for that is because it's centered around the idea that a car crash Kane had been involved in when he was a young man led to his girlfriend passing away. But that wasn't the worst of it. No, after this happened, the Big Red Machine was then alleged to have spent some special time with Katie post-mortem, something which, even by the standards of 2002, was pretty tasteless. Yes, you won't see this one brought up in retrospectives anytime soon, and you won't see that footage of Triple H wearing a Kane mask in the funeral parlor on any future episodes of Raw. No, WWE probably wishes they could erase the whole thing from history entirely, but they can't. Just as they can't erase the worst angle of 2003, the love story between Tori Wilson, Dawn Marie, and Al Wilson. What happened here? Well, back in 2003, as WWE were still attempting to recreate the car crash style of TV, which had made them so successful during the Attitude Era, they came up with the idea to have a love triangle of sorts. But this would be no ordinary love triangle, as it would see one woman, namely Dawn Marie, make advances at both a father and a daughter in Al and Tori Wilson. Yes, this was the year where Al Wilson collapsed on his wedding day and ended up expiring in kayfabe. Needless to say then, it was a pretty bad combination of poor taste and general silliness that really proved the Attitude Era was over. But that wouldn't be the end of the bad romance angles in WWE, because 2004 would see an arguably even worse one in the doomed love story of Kane and Lita.
Hey, I know how I feel about this. Yeah, I know how I feel about this as well too. Well, this round of time, he was a heel, but still, how they try to turn it around, like he was the babyface and everything, but because his so-called child with her got his unborn child she had miscarriage with unborn child because of Snitsky hitting them and him falling on Lita, where in reality he got his reason why she was with child kayfabe was because he pretty much performed an SA in a way, but then they try to make it seem like he was a babyface because of sympathy, which was like, I get it, yeah, but not good taste right there, because you want us to root for the guy who committed SA on a girl against the guy who caused a loser baby, which I mean is just as bad, and Edge, who was already a heel at the time. So yeah, and then poor JR, when she turned on Kay, poor JR, what y'all screaming about? This is the man. Yeah, I get JR was doing his job. Just yeah, it was just one of my this is like part of my many conflicted dilemma in wrestling right here. Like Kane was supposed to be the babyface not here, but later on, but he was she was with child because he poured SA during his heel run. So yeah, poor Kane.
Now, there's no way to make this one look good, as the whole idea was that Kane was able to force Lita to marry him after he beat her boyfriend Matt Hardy in a match, as you would expect.
And not to mention the love triangle between Hardy, Edge, and Lita coming in real life as well too was made it worse.
And this is not something which would fly today. Hell, even back then it wasn't something the fan base had much time for. And things only got worse when it was revealed that Lita was pregnant. But things would get worse still after Lita lost her kayfabe baby when she was pushed off the ring apron during a match by Gene Snitsky, with this all leading to the infamous baby punting segment from the heel. Truly then, this is an angle which should be relegated to the forgotten part of history, just as our next entry should be too, the rise and fall of Muhammad Hassan.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If you was a heel for you, might like it, but he had potential. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right time. That's all I'm going to say. It just wasn't the right time.
Okay, this didn't have to be a bad storyline.
It didn't.
No, there could have been some good to be found in the idea of an Arab American looking to present a more positive portrayal of his people in a post 9/11 world. But then things went off the rail when Hassan turned into just another foreign heel menace, with things reaching their apex when he had a group of masked men attack The Undertaker on an episode of SmackDown that summer. So controversial was this, it would lead to UPN, the TV network the Blue brand was on at the time, demanding Muhammad be taken off TV permanently.
Yeah, see, here's the thing though, like, for starters, the typical foreign wrestler gotta be a heel thing. Why represent his culture. If you don't know, if you do know, but if you don't know, that's been a little bit my pet peeve as of late though. It started back around time when the whole thing with the during the pandemic where folks was like really trying to and folks was really on that heels over face shit for a while, and they was they said they didn't want to be booing what was the name Apollo Cruz for repping his home country or anything, but again and all that as well too, and then it seemed like, and to me I didn't like how it seemed like why representing your culture, whether it's a international culture or social culture, well, too, like the Her Business, why that gotta be a villain only / heel only thing. So that's one thing. And then number two, them doing this, yeah, poor taste at all. His character, heel, whatever, could have been done better, but they went with the typical foreign heel one, and then to push the envelope to give him heat. That's another thing. So yeah, that's another thing.
And this would force WWE to write him off with immediate effect. Obviously, then, this meant he wouldn't be around for 2006 when the worst storyline in WWE was the saga of the Imposter Kane.
Poor Kane, yo. He's been in most of these bad. Yeah, Kane they could have treated Kane better. I'm gonna be honest. Glenn Jacobs could have did so better, especially when the time during the cave. They should have had one because you already won the title and you already had one of the shortest WWE championship ever, and then all these little storylines. Yeah, you gotta, if you look back at it, you gotta feel for Kane, man. They did him so dirty in his prime.
Kane. Okay, while Muhammad Hassan could have worked under the right circumstances, this one was pretty much always destined to fail, as imposter characters have never really been something which have worked historically. And it certainly didn't help Kane break that curse that the whole angle never even got out of the starting blocks. No, after one match between the real Glenn Jacobs and the fake version of him played by Doc Gallows stunk out the joint at Vengeance that year, Vince McMahon decided to pull the trigger on the whole thing. And this meant we never even got to see the reveal of who was under the mask on screen. Hell, all we got was the real Kane throwing the imposter out of the building and then never speaking of it again, leaving us all to forget about it ourselves. Still though, for as bad as this was, it wasn't anything on the worst storyline of 2007.
That was terrible. I mean, the bright side of it, it got Finlay be a babyface as well too, and Hornswoggle got over as heck, but at the same time, it's just.
The reveal that Hornswoggle was Vince McMahon's illegitimate son. Of course, it wasn't initially supposed to be Hornswoggle who was in this role. No, it was supposed to be Mr. Kennedy who would be revealed as the long-lost son of Vince McMahon after months of teasing. But as a result of a combination of injuries and backstage heat, he ended up getting moved away from the role that was originally written for him. And this left WWE with a problem because,
though, it could have worked though too, because Vince Kennedy, because his middle name is Kennedy, so that could have worked. But dag, and it's like, and I heard reason why because of Triple H, because I heard it was beef between him and Kennedy. I could be wrong.
The angle had already begun on TV, they needed someone else to serve as a payoff. Enter Hornswoggle, the person who was eventually chosen to be the second choice for the boss's secret son. And if that makes no sense to you, it made no sense to anyone watching at the time either. Really, this was a low point for creative overall, and one which would later be all but retconned out of existence, as today, the idea that Dylan Postal bears any kayfabe relation to the McMahons is never even brought up. But let's move away from bad family angles for now and over to something a little more simple. A bad main event push, which gave us the...
Yeah, he's on the video. He's the cover of the video for Wrestling Flashback. I might watch him have time as well too about overhype.
The worst WWE storyline of 2008 in Vladimir Kozlov's rise. That's right. While there were some underrated things happening in 2008 WWE, things like the rise of Jeff Hardy and Chris Jericho's suit and tie clad villain, one thing which certainly wasn't good was the trajectory Vladimir Kozlov was on. And that's because, despite him clearly still being very green, he was pushed all the way to the top of the card at rocket speed. And not just pushed by a half measure either.
Typical Vince obsession with big guys.
No, in 2008, Kozlov would pin the likes of The Undertaker right in the middle of the ring, with this making it seem like he was going to be a future world champion on SmackDown. But as we all know now, this would not happen because fans simply didn't take to the Ukrainian. Why was that? Well, he just didn't have what it took to play the role. So it was that by the end of the year then, the Vladimir Kozlov experiment would be over, and 2009 would instead feature a new worst WWE angle in the story of,
that was ridiculous. The Piggy James thing was ridiculous.
Of Piggy James. Really, all this one did was make everyone involved look bad. It made LayCool look bad for being presented as bullies, and it made Mickie James look bad for just being associated with the entire thing. But then why wouldn't it, as the whole idea here was that the team made up of Layla and Michelle McCool were picking on Mickie for being too fat. Hell, even if you ignored the tastelessness of it, it didn't make any sense as Mickie was clearly not someone who was overweight.
Right.
Honestly, this is another one which is best left forgotten and which should never be tried again. But let's move away from that for now and over to the worst WWE angle of 2010 instead. One which was less about someone being bullied and more about a mystery figure pulling the strings of Monday Night Raw from behind the scenes. That's right, it's time to talk about the anonymous Raw General Manager.
The worst thing that not only that and made Michael Cole's already unbearable heel run very unbearable. Oh my god, yo. He should have never turned heel, man. I'm gonna be honest. I get why they did it, but at the same time, he was unbearable as a heel already, and then this made it just worse. Oh my god.
Manager. Now again, this could have been something interesting, but the execution was just so poor, everyone rightly remembers the Raw GM angle as being a low point for the Red brand today. After all, it pretty much just ended up giving us week upon week of a laptop interrupting the show. Still, at least if it had been given a good payoff, then it might have been all worthwhile. But in the end, the payoff would be that Hornswoggle, of all people, was revealed to be the secret general manager, with him conducting all of his business from under the ring, presumably in the magical realm of the little people which canonically exists under there. And this wouldn't be the only time Michael Cole was involved in the worst WWE storyline of the year either, as the very next year he'd also get the dishonor of being part of the low point of 2011, the feud which took place between him and Jerry Lawler. Come on now, how could there be any other choice for the worst WWE storyline of 2011? After all, for a year in which the highs saw the summer of Punk take hold, the lows brought things right back down to earth with one of the worst WrestleMania matches of all time. What made this one such a stinker? Well, it involved two commentators, one of whom had been a very successful wrestler, but who was long past the point of being a regular worker by then, and another of whom had never had a single match in his entire life. Needless to say then, when Cole and Lawler met at Mania 27, it brought the show to a screeching halt. And to make matters,
and then Cole had that undefeated streak of WrestleMania he never lost. He bragged about it for a good while.
There's worse, it all ended with the guy who was having his first match getting the win. Yep. Yes, legendary Memphis figure Jerry Lawler would do the job during his only WrestleMania bout. And Michael Cole would forever go down as one of the very few people who remains undefeated at the Showcase of the Immortals, something even The Undertaker can't say about himself anymore. But what about 2012? Surely Michael Cole wouldn't make it a three-peat here, right? Thankfully he wouldn't. No, this year the worst WWE storyline would be...
Yo, damn, Kane. Damn, yo, Kane is on... Damn. No, I gotta see a comment on this, because how is Kane is on every one of these? Damn. Yo, how is Kane on every one? Somebody gotta say it. Somebody gotta say it. Somebody gotta say it, man. I know somebody to say poor Kane, because I see a lot of Kane over here, yep. Yeah, man, yo, man, Kane they could have done better with Kane, man. Jesus.
Be the one centered around Kane, John Cena, and Zack Ryder.
Yo.
Embrace the hate. 3 words which came to sum up the worst WWE had to offer in 2012. What was the idea?
And I hate it too, because a lot of folks were trying to push that on me and these damn groups as well too, though. Because of but still, that's another story. Now I gotta address this, man, in this in the group show.
Do you
Dang.
hear? Well, it was that Kane wanted John Cena to embrace the fact that many fans had been booing him for years by this point, with the ultimate goal being to get him to turn heel. As you would expect then, this was all a little cheesy. And it all got worse once Zack Ryder got pulled into the whole thing, as it pretty much nuked any momentum he had going by then with the Ryder Revolution. Come on now, this was the point where, while he was supposed to be ignoring the hate and remaining a babyface, Big Match John ended up stealing Ryder's on-screen girlfriend Eve Torres away from him. And then from there, he watched on as Kane ran Long Island ICZ off the entrance ramp while he was confined to a wheelchair. Really, the whole thing was a total mess of logic and made no one look stronger by the time all was said and done. So for that reason, it has to be considered the worst WWE angle of 2012. That said, it wasn't the worst of 2013. No, for this year, the worst storyline in WWE would be all...
Yeah. When the numerous, the infamous multiple turns of Big Show finally bit him in the ass, though, because what the entire fuck? Because he's all against the authority. Then, oh God, then sold out. Yeah. The many times of when the many turns of Big Show bit them in the ass. Oh yeah.
All about the Big Show instead, and his time spent as a puppet to the authority. That's right, it's been a joke for years now that throughout his career, the Big Show seemed to alternate between playing a babyface and heel on an almost monthly basis. But the absolute lowest point of this probably came in 2013, as that was when, right as the villainous authority was at its peak of power, Paul White was forced to join up with the faction against his will. Unsurprisingly then, being forced to help screw over people like Daniel Bryan lest he get fired made the big man conflicted. And that led to some pretty bad scenes of him crying in the middle of the ring, as we were supposed to feel sympathy for him. But few fans felt any sympathy at the time, as few were invested in the angle, mostly because it was bringing down the entire show, right when all people wanted to see was the American Dragon win the big one. And the Bryan household would still be a factor in the worst WWE storyline by the time 2014 came around, because it would be Brie Bella who would be involved in the lowest point of that year, when she had her infamous feud with her twin sister Nikki. Yes, if you were watching WWE during the mid-2010s, then you no doubt remember this one, as it was one of the more memorable angles of the era, albeit one which was memorable for all the wrong reasons. What did it involve? Well, it involved Nikki turning heel on her sister Brie by aligning herself with the authority, and in the process...
And it was the funny part about it, I had a bad feeling it was going to happen at that time, because, because right after, when their match between Bree's match between Stephanie and Triple H trapped Bree against the table while against the side of the table while Stephanie beat Nikki down. I had a feeling that she's gonna turn on her just because she's gonna feel it was her fault that they going through this. Yeah, and then it was crap. And then afterwards they gonna have her kiss to have her reunite with Nikki. I forget it was AJ or something like that. Yeah. Stupid.
Forcing her to be her personal help for an entire month. And that wasn't even the worst of it. No, after this 30-day period ended, and after we got that truly awful promo about what Nikki wished had happened to her sister in the womb, the whole thing would be retconned anyway, as Brie then realigned herself with her sibling once more for no apparent reason, making the entire thing meaningless. And things weren't going to get much better when it came to the worst WWE storyline of 2015 either, as that was the year we got the love quadrangle between Rusev, Dolph Ziggler, Lana, and Summer Rae. That's right, as you might have noticed by now, love stories in wrestling often don't turn out well. And this one was no different, as it damaged the momentum of 4 people rather than...
I ain't gonna lie, I did like the Lana with Dolph for a while as a face as well, because Lana's a hottie, and how he treated her, she had her coming out looking hot instead of her usual business one, but then they retconning, it was bad.
Than just 2. How did it all begin? Well, the whole thing started when WWE made these strange...
Look who's that right to the left. Say a name and he appears. Hope I hit me by accident.
And Lana on screen.
Speaking of that, I think he's been secretly signed to WWE because he's in the intro of the Roar to the Crowd NXT special intro for the NXT Homecoming. I think he's basically signed. So it'd be crazy if him and Rusev have an angle soon down the line if he's with WWE fully.
A curious choice, as the pair were by then a legitimate item. And they didn't just split the couple here. No, they had them find new lovers on TV, with Rusev gaining a new valet in Summer Rae, and Lana seemingly moving on with Dolph Ziggler. What happened after that? Well, a lot of bad television is what. Yes, by the time this one was abruptly canceled after Rusev and Lana announced their real-life engagement via TMZ, fans were desperate to just forget it had ever happened. And as it happened, Rusev would also be a part of the worst WWE storyline of 2016 as well, though this one wouldn't involve his wife.
Oh, yeah.
No, this one would center around his membership in the League of Nations, alongside Sheamus.
The worst heel fashion that could make anybody a face, even make Roman Reigns, who was a babyface, and Bray Wyatt, who was a heel at the time, become a unlikely alliance face tag team to beat their asses. It was crazy, yo.
Alberto Del Rio and Wade Barrett. Yes, well, it was actually 2015 that was the year when, in an attempt to try and get Roman Reigns over with an audience who were widely rejecting him, WWE decided to pair together a collective of heels who could stand in his way. It was in 2016 that the collective of foreign menaces made up of an Irishman in Sheamus, a Bulgarian in Rusev, a Mexican in Alberto Del Rio, and an Englishman in Wade Barrett reached their absolute nadir, as this was when they were reduced to the level of cannon fodder.
Damn, I ain't know. Damn, how tall was Wade? I didn't know he was that taller than Sheamus. Hold on, how tall is Wade Barrett? Unless it was the angle he's staring at. Hold on. Yeah, he's 6. Yeah, he's 6'7". Yeah, and Sheamus is how tall? Like 6'3". Yeah, I thought Sheamus. Yeah, I thought Sheamus was kind of tall, like 6'5", maybe too. I just saw that, and then I'm looking at I didn't know Ray was no damn 6'7" though. I thought he was just like 6'5" or something like that. Not no 6'7". Jesus.
Seriously, while the League of Nations were never exactly a legendary faction or anything, at least the year prior they'd held the WWE title within the ranks. But come 2016, things had fallen so far that at WrestleMania 32, their primary role on the show would be to get beaten up by 3 older legends in Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, and Mick Foley. Not exactly a promising sign for the future from here on in. And Sheamus' gang of heels weren't the only villains who'd have a tough time during this period, as in 2017, the worst WWE storyline would center around another heel menace in Jinder Mahal. Of course, when we talk about Jinder Mahal here, we're primarily talking about his world title reign. A world title reign which was completely out of nowhere, as only a matter of weeks.
Thank you. Thank you for verifying that. Thank you very much. I will say this again. The only people number one, this was nothing but a marketing title run. I don't care what they say, for idiot. That's all it was. I said 1. For Indian. 2, when he won, remember how they used to introduce the commentator teams at pay-per-views? They also got an Indian commentator team when he was during the championship. Yeah. Number 2, anybody who liked this was straight heel feeding or happy that somebody of the Punjabi heritage, whatever, got a championship. That's all it is. Other than that, if you completely honest, nobody liked this title run. Not many, I should say. I would say nobody. Not many liked this. Be honest. Like, nobody. And only time, unless you was heel feeding, you just love heel heat, whatever, and going on with the Mahara nonsense. Other than that, no. Ain't nobody like this shit. Nobody really like this shit. Unless you're just trolling, to be trolling hill fiend. That's all it is. Yeah, nobody like this.
Before he won the gold, the Canadian had been treated like a jobber for years. Needless to say then, fans simply didn't buy into him being the de facto best performer in the company. And this led to a run on top which never threatened to get over in any significant way. Sure, it might have been different if Jinder had actually been built up properly for the role, but then maybe not, as even if this had happened, the reality is that not everyone can be a world champion level wrestler.
And they almost had their own version, their own Punjabi version of the Authority almost too.
Honestly, there's a reason that many to this day still consider this to be the weakest WWE title reign of all time. But at least 2018 wouldn't see the gold be part of such a mid-angle. No, that year the worst angle in WWE would be the failed heel turn of
When keeping it heels go wrong. Yup. People was like, "Ooh, it's going to happen." It was happy to happen, but it was happy to happen. Yeah, it was already a poor choice of why they did it, because they did it the same night Roman announced his leukemia situation, and then number two, but then the heel turn failed, and I was happy that it failed, because it should have happened in the first place. Now I mean, they only did it because at the time they wasn't trying to turn Roman heel, and only people as the Shield aside from their initial run that didn't have a heel run as a single player yet was Dean, and wanted to flip the script between him and Dean, Dean and Seth for once, but nope.
Dean Ambrose. That's right, post his run as one-third of the Shield, the booking of Dean Ambrose as a single star on main roster WWE left a lot to be desired. But no matter where things were at any given time with him, there was always the knowledge that the company had that heel turn in their back pocket. So this is why it felt so sad to see the heel turn be executed in 2018 and be botched so spectacularly. Yes, what we got here was a man coming down to the ring in a gas mask telling the audience that they smelled. And it was clear Dean hated this too, as he'd later say it was the final straw in him neglecting to sign a new contract with WWE the following year when his old one ran out. That's right, this one failed so much, it directly led to him leaving the promotion.
Oh.
And he wouldn't be the only Shield member who was
that shit was bullshit right there. That was bullshit.
Involved in a bad storyline towards the end of the 2010s, as the very next year it would be his brother-in-arms, Roman Reigns, who was part of the nadir of
You know why I'm mad about this, right? You know why I'm mad? It's because of this damn angle. Is the reason why we end up getting the asshole tribal chief Roman Reigns. That was a dark cloud of my motherfucking wrestling run for a good long time, though. Cause this fucking damn storyline right here. Cause this fucking storyline right here made folks hate him more as a babyface, and then they had folks all his nuts said when he finally turned heel and all this shit, and you know how that went. Anybody against Roman, yeah. The led to the reason why the Dark Cloud wrestling that went over my head for a good while from 2020 to 2024 in a way happened because this goddamn storyline here. And you got certain dollar dickheads want to bring it up as well too, because of that, and then recently getting his shoes taken and everything. Because you Roman will never fuck you dollar to dollar. Yeah, I said his name. I don't give a fuck because he because I call him dickhead. Said don't talk about me. Yeah, fuck you, dude. Anyway. Sorry, got a lot of character, but that's my shoot right there. I don't give a shit who's there. You know what I mean? And faces can say have shoots and talk shit. So don't try it. Anyway.
Of WWE during his feud with Baron Corbin.
That nigga Dollar guy never was a face anyway. He hates faces anyway, so it's a face move for me. Anyway.
Come on now, if you look back on the history of Roman Reigns in WWE, this has to be considered a low point. After all, after years of trying to get the big dog over with an audience which was widely rejecting him as a top babyface,
this was number one, but that was one right there, that moment right there. But this one was the one.
Felt like the company really were out of ideas when the best they could come up with was having him feud with Baron Corbin over who was the real top dog of SmackDown. And we mean it literally when we talk about this being about who was the top dog, as mocking Roman's big dog moniker, Corbin would at points come out to the ring in a dog costume, all before then handcuffing Reigns to the ring and pouring tins of dog food over him. Honestly, is it any wonder the future tribal chief demanded a character change not long after this?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Vince. Dickhead. Thanks to that fucking storyline why I had to deal with that damn dark cloud on my damn head for almost 3 to 4 years of wrestling. WWE almost went that to the point I almost quit being a wrestling fan. Not because of Roman himself as a heel, because I was going to give him a pass, but one, I dealt with fans who was trying to call me heel for giving him the pass, and then when I say fuck it, I'm gonna be against him, I'm gonna use a way, gave me a hard time just for that. For a long fucking time. including folks on YouTube too. Why you hating on Roman and all that? I'm trying to keep going on, be room for the face and booing the heel, but folks just give me a hard time for that. And until this day, and ever since then, I've been like that for a while.
A character change which would finally turn his luck around.
Yep.
But while 2020 may have been a better year for Roman Reigns, it was not a good year for our next subject, the worst WWE storyline of this 12-month period, Retribution.
And this was low-key a part of that Dark Cloud too around there too, because I had assholes who had certain, can't say assholes because it was ladies, or in another group that ended up losing because of that, trying to say, because again, I was rooting for the faces, boo the heel, but because I was against them because they supposedly had a social cause for why they started the group as well too, because how they mishandled or anything, whatever.
Now, 2020 was a year when a lot of things were being thrown at the wall in an attempt to keep viewers interested. After all, with no fans in attendance at shows, it became harder than ever to create an engaging show. But out of all the new things WWE tried during this year, Retribution was certainly not one of the hits. No, in this group made up of T-Bar, Mace, Slapjack, Reckoning, and Retaliation, you had something which was pretty much universally hated. Why was that? Well, rather than being a threatening NWO style,
I was like, who's Retaliation? I forgot. What's the name? Mercedes Martinez was supposed to be one of the members too. Till they dropped her and moved back to being herself in NXT.
while invading heel group, the silly names and even sillier costumes of the fivesome made them come across more like budget Power Rangers villains. And when you compare this to something like the early days of the Bloodline, which was happening the same year, it's easy to see why fans weren't interested. And that tradition of a goofy gimmick being the worst of the year for WWE would also continue on into 2021 as well, as that was the year of the Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton feud. Of course, when you have
Poor Bray, man. Poor Orton, dude, but poor Bray, man. I don't know what Vince, whatever, had against him, but it's like they could not get it right with him, man. It was so crazy.
a career as long as Randy Orton's, there are going to be inevitable peaks and troughs. There's just no way you can be around for 20 plus years and have everything be a hit. But of the low points of the Viper's run, his 2021 feud with Alexa Bliss has to rank way down there amongst the lowest. Why is that? Well, this was when Alexa was playing the role of the Fiend's Herald, and that meant her doing things like making Orton cough up a mysterious black liquid during the middle of a promo segment. And then there was that match at WrestleMania 37 where, while the people actually fighting in the ring were Bray Wyatt and Randy, the focus was largely on Little Miss Bliss sitting on top of a box-like structure at ringside, all while she was inexplicably spewing black goo from her head as well. Realistically, this was the kind of goofy angle which fans just weren't invested in to a real degree at that point. So for that reason, it had to be considered the worst WWE storyline of 2021, just as our next entry, Happy Corbin versus...
yeah, the Happy Corbin thing, yeah. They could have did so... Bumcorn, they could have had the better outcome for his little bum character as well too. They could have turned it into a cool babyface character that have fans sympathize with it, but instead they turn into this shit.
versus Madcap Moss has to be considered the worst WWE storyline of 2022. Now, if you've already forgotten about this one, we wouldn't blame you, as it was not exactly what you'd call a strong story. No, the fact we've listed it as the worst angle WWE did in 2022 should give you a good idea of how people responded to it at the time. What was the actual story playing itself out on screen here? Well, it was that after going through a period as Sad Corbin, the Kansas native was able to become happy again after winning all his money back in Las Vegas. And he wasn't the only one who was happy here because, at least initially, Corbin had a sidekick in Madcap Moss, a dad joke-loving goofball. But then, things fell apart between the two and they started feuding with one another. The only problem with that, though, was that this feud just kept going and never led to anything particularly exciting.
I know.
No, by the time it was over, fans were just happy to forget it had ever taken place at all. Not exactly the kind of payoff you want for a months-long program. And 2023 wouldn't fare any better when it came to lengthy programs failing to get over with.
This could have been done so much better. So better. and the match itself could have still better to us.
WWE fans either, as that year the worst angle the company produced would be the feud between Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey. Of course, this was one which could have been good. After all, both Ronda and Shayna were known as being legit MMA fighters prior to their time in WWE, with Rousey in particular being a huge star in the world of UFC. So there was a lot of story potential to be mined out of their past careers. And when you add into this the fact that they were shoot close friends and had been for a long time, it felt like a program between the pair should have been an easy win. Unfortunately though, by the time it happened, it felt like Ronda was already mentally checked out, and this led to everything just feeling half-baked.
And then at the time, you know who was what though. When now Shane was somewhat the babyface, but you got folks questioning that as well too. So,
hell, their big match at
doing that same dollar dick I told you about.
SummerSlam that year had all the energy of a wake. Sure, it didn't help that the entire angle was rushed through at light speed, but even if it had been given more time to build, it was probably the wrong time for it to take place. And the same could be said about our entry for 2024 as it happened, because that year, the worst angle in WWE would be the program.
Again, this could have been better, this could have been so better, just the outcome of the match at WrestleMania messed it all up.
Between Jimmy and Jey Uso. Seriously now, there were many points across WWE's history that the Usos coming to blows might have worked. Even as far back as the mid-2010s, this could have been a success with the right build, and on the face of things, 2024 should have been as good a point as any for this to happen. After all, both men had been a part of the lengthy bloodline angle for years before WrestleMania 40, and the history each man had undergone while a part of that stable made it natural for them to finally face off against each other one-on-one at the Showcase of the Immortals. The only problem was, when the match finally did happen, all it ended up being was a bit of a flop, something which was largely seen as the low point of an otherwise all-time great show. Why was that? Well, as it turned out, while the Usos are great as a tag team, they're not so great as opponents. No, this one just didn't click.
That's why I'm saying, I'm hoping, because there's folks, you got the Hill Fiends going here trying to say that James son might turn heel at WrestlePalooza. I hope that's not the case, yo. I hope it's not the case. I hope that's not the case, man. Just make them a team again. They deserve to be a team as well, too, this time. For real.
Was not what people had been hoping for coming out of such an emotionally charged history between the two. But at least the Usos wouldn't be involved in the worst WWE storyline of 2025. No, that year, it would be all about the inconsistent booking of the Wyatt Six. Now, the Wyatt Six could have been something. Hell, when they were first introduced in 2024, fans were all in on seeing them succeed.
I would not expect this guy to though, man. It's like the whole Wyatt thing just, since the original Wyatts hasn't, since like the Fiend, everything, like the Wyatts just seem like it just cannot hit. I don't know why. Since aside from the initial Wyatt thing, like why cannot the Fiend, all this cannot hit so well? I don't understand it, but.
As the angle was very clearly a tribute to the late Bray Wyatt. But unfortunately for the fivesome, they've never really been given a chance to get out of the starting blocks on account of how inconsistently they've been booked. That's right, the pattern for Uncle Howdy and company thus far has been showing up for a couple of weeks, then disappearing for months at a time, halting any momentum they'd been able to build. Sure, they're currently SmackDown Tag Team Champions, but even this hasn't been enough to rebuild them fully. No, at the point they're at now, this is something which will take a lot more work.
Yeah.
Will this happen? We guess we'll just have to wait and see, but until then, they'll have earned a spot in this video, along with everyone else we've looked at today as one of the worst WWE storylines of the 20s.
Yeah, so yeah, good amount of these was definitely good. I did not expect the Riot one to be the last one as well too, though. But let's get a recap. Yeah, this was just bad. Like I said, DDP could have got brought in way better than that. Almost say it's poor Kane and Kane. Yeah, the triangle thing was not needed. Again, Wall at times he was heel Kane, but still one of the most conflicted dilemma in wrestling right there. All that. Like I said, he could have booked better, but typical cliche villain heel, and then to get more heat. Again, poor Kane. Yeah, it was this. Yeah. This was just unfortunate because of the situation with Mr. Kennedy, but they could have got somebody better than Hornswoggle. Yeah, they should have took his time with him. Yeah, that piggy was unnecessary. What was next? just damn. The start of the 2010s being the worst of wrestling, and going. Never should have turned Michael Cole heel, as I'm gonna say. Again, once again, poor Kane, ain't he? And Big Show's multiple turns finally bit them in the ass. Yeah, just damn. I won't say that. This could have been better. And again, say his name and he appears. If I'm clear right. Nope. Yep, say his name and he appears. Anyway, uh, yeah, a faction so bad that even Bray Wyatt came a baby face along with the team with Roman Reigns, and then this happened because then they had to really rely on their veterans as well too. Yeah, like I said, marketing title run. Only a trolling Hill fan love it. Other than that, other people from the India love it. But at the same time, when keeping it Hill goes wrong, I'm gonna say that right here. The reason why the Dark Cloud Wrestling happened, for some folks, the best thing that happened was the Trouble Sheet, but a Dark Cloud for some of us who was our face fans as well too, and dealt with Dickhead, and worse for me who had dealt with Dickhead Hill fans who want to give me a hard time. Some are part of that as well too. This one here, poor Bray. I'm back to poor Bray. Yeah, and this could have been so much better. And this could have been better just if the match was outcome. And that sucks that they're considered that. So, because I mean, I could see some other ones being more considerate than this, but I feel like it could have been worse than this, to be honest, because it wasn't that bad. Just the inconsistent booking, I guess. Other than that, do y'all agree with these four storylines and everything? If you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's your boy T-Bear signing off. One love.